All right, I'm in the middle of the woods, and I've been finding some stuff from the 30s and 40s, it seems, maybe a campsite. And I just dug this thing, which is kind of unique, and it looks like um, it's shaped like a bottle, and I see the word whiskey on there. And Harper? Yeah, pretty cool find. That's different. All right, cool.
This is a neat little aluminum bottle. It was an advertising piece for Harper whiskey that was distributed in the early 1900s. You could remove the neck of the bottle to expose a little foil cutter knife. Unfortunately, on the one I found, it's kind of fused in there because it's been in the ground for over 100 years. And one place that they were handing these things out was the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair. That seems like a weird venue to me, World's Fair. But the 1904 World's Fair, they had a world's best whiskey competition. So that does make some sense. And the winner of the gold medal for the world's finest whiskey in 1904 was Jack Daniels. Here's a photo of all the stuff that I found that day. If you look at the upper left, you'll see some dog tags, and below that a key, the bottle that we just chatted about, and then below that what looks like a coin. Let's talk about that. So this isn't a coin, but it's a Washington State tax token, and it's certainly seen better days. You can make out the date 1935 on it, and that's when the state initiated a 2% sales tax. So envision this. It's 1935, you're in the state of Washington, you go to the general store, you buy 50 cents worth of merchandise. And then the sales tax is 2% of 50 cents, or 1 penny. Then you go to the store the next day and you buy 10 cents worth of merchandise. 2% of 10 cents is 2/10 of a penny. Who's going to pay that? How you going to round it up to 11 cents? You don't want to do that. The store owner doesn't want to, eat it either. So what to do? So that's when tax tokens come to the rescue. We're talking fractions of a penny here, so this sounds absolutely nuts today. But in 1935, you could buy 5 Washington State tax tokens for a penny, and then when you went to the store and you bought an item for 10 cents, you could give them the 10 cents and give them one of the tax tokens, which was you paid 2/10 of 1 penny for the taxes. Back to the tailgate, I'd like to talk about the jar lid on the bottom right, where you can make out the words Dude Ranch. I never heard of the Dude Ranch brand before, and I'm wondering if the jar held ranch salad dressing and just how far back in time it goes. So what I'm going to do is place the lid in 2 cups of hot water along with a teaspoon of citric acid for about 8 hours. This should remove the rust and reveal the secrets of Dude Ranch. Inquiring minds need to know. All right, it cleaned up pretty nice. But so much for my salad dressing guess. The jar probably held jelly or preserves. Mighty fine eating, or as the jar says, mighty fine eaten. In terms of age, there's no date on it. However, it is vapor vacuum sealed, and that pioneering lid technology was introduced around 1935. It really kept things fresh, but it was a real pain in the butt to pry open the lids off of containers. And in the mid-1950s, the vapor seal method was made obsolete with the invention of the twist lid. Therefore, our Dude Ranch jar was probably distributed sometime between 1935 and 1955. Probably the earlier part of that range, since the sales tax token was found real close to where this lid was dug up. Fun stuff. To the tailgate again, below the blade of the knife in the upper left, you'll see a cylinder type thing, 3 musket balls, and a strip of brass with some numbers on it. I'd like to talk about that. Both of these items are from the 1800s and were used for measuring. I don't know if the artifact on the right measured weight or volume, but I'm sure what the cylinder-looking object on the left is all about, and it's a very, very, very cool find. Pictured here is a gunpowder flask. In the old days, it was quite a process to load a gun. You had to load from the muzzle, the end of the barrel. You put your gunpowder in, a patch, shot, and then you use a ramrod to compress it all. You'd have to carefully measure the amount of gunpowder and shot you put in, or it just wouldn't work properly. What I found was a brass measure, mostly brass, that would attach to a shot pouch. The shot pouch would be carried in addition to the gunpowder flask. This little contraption would measure the amount of shot that would come out of the pouch. I admit I really didn't know what this was when I found it, but I really love finding this kind of stuff. This was just a totally awesome find. And finally, here's an example of a shot pouch and the measure. I recycle everything that I don't want to keep. First thing is the rusty stuff, bottle caps, deteriorated cans, etc. The scrapyard will actually pay you for what otherwise would stay in the ground or end up in the landfill. All right, let's talk aluminum. In the 1800s, aluminum was a valuable metal. As a matter of fact, in 1880, it went for about $12 a pound. Today, the scrap value is around 30 cents a pound. By the way, it takes about 32 12-ounce cans to make 1 pound of aluminum.
Okay, this thing is threaded in 2 places. Large there, comes out there. Does not stick. Let's see, probably brass. Yeah, has that yellow color. So I'm going to clean this up some more. It's going to go in the brass pile.
Wire is a very common find in the woods. I always test to see if it's copper wire first by seeing if it sticks to a magnet. If it sticks, it's ferrous or iron. But if it doesn't stick, I use a file to determine the underlying color. If it's copper colored, then you have copper. But if it's white or silverish, it's aluminum. Some call copper scrapper's gold because it's one of the metals with a relatively high value for scrap. You never know what you're going to dig up. I never expected to find a copper-bearing motor in the middle of the woods. I soaked it overnight in water and hosed it down to clean out all the packed dirt. I can recycle it at the scrapyard as is and get about 20 cents a pound. It's actually a combo of steel and copper wire. I want to reiterate the point that every metal that I bring back is recycled, and any money made from, I'll call it micro scrapping, is just a bonus. The scrapyard will pay about 20 cents a pound for a copper-bearing motor. If I get ambitious, I could shave off some of the easy wire pickings on the right side. Well, that was fast, but it's ugly, but we have some additions to our number 2 copper collection. All right. I want to talk about this blob of metal that I found. You know, fire is just a reality in the forest. Be it a wildfire, prescribed burn, campfire, whatever. It can certainly affect metals that are shallow in the ground. A couple of cool but sad forest finds for me in the past were these two Seated Liberty $50. Oh man, what a heartbreaker. Anyway, this blob seems to be mostly non-ferrous with some visible things sticking out of it. So why don't we just clean it up some just for fun? Okay, I cleaned it up enough to confidently state that there are no surprise historic treasures that are apparent within the blob. I set this knife aside and I almost forgot about it. The handle's non-ferrous, but it's very light, and the bottom looks like there's some aluminum oxidation going on. It looks like a hunting knife, but yeah, it looks kind of cheap. Feels cheap. But let's clean it up and see if we can find a maker's mark. Well, all right, it sure looks like cast aluminum covers the tang of the knife. Bad news is, couldn't find a maker's mark, but the good news is the blade is surprisingly sharp. There was quite a diversity of finds made on this hunt, including a turn signal unit that was probably used in the 40s or 50s. I have a friend that restores old vehicles, so hopefully he can use it. Well, I hope you enjoyed my first video. If you would like to be notified when I post more, please subscribe. If you liked it, it'd be super if you clicked on the like button, and a short comment would also be appreciated. If you didn't like it, then well, thanks for making it to the end. And let's all try to do a better job of reusing, repurposing, and recycling metal.